Hi everyone, Stephanazzi here, and we are ready for number 2 in our series for home buyers. So the next thing that we want to share with you is why you need to have buyer agent representation. And what this is having one person, so a relationship with one agent who's going to be your buyer's agent throughout the process. That way it stays consistent when you are doing showings and that kind of thing. That's the one person who's doing showings. They're going to make the offer for you and negotiating on your behalf. So we're going to get down into a little bit more on why you need that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the very first thing is, you want to really find an expert in your market. And I think that's what agents will provide you. Is definitely somebody who's seen a lot of homes in your area. It's somebody who's going to understand what is a good value versus a bad value. And I think also, like Stephanie said, I think it's great to have just that one point of contact as well. I think a lot of people may take that for granted until they go and try to schedule a showing with like 3 different people and nobody shows up because it's so confusing. It's definitely a tricky thing to try to navigate around. So
yeah, and it's important for that to be consistent, because if you can have a conversation in the very beginning of your search where, like we talked about in the last video, you talk about your financials, what your budget is, what you're looking for, and then that person can really be looking out for that for you. So say, even if you're the one who says, hey, we want to see these 3 different homes, if they know what it is that you're looking for, believe me, buying a home is an emotional process. So you can get in and start picturing yourself. But if you said from the beginning, you know what, we really need that half bath in the hallway and this doesn't have it and there's no way to fit it in, this agent can kind of remind you of that and be like, look, for your lifestyle, you said that this is something that you need. And it's important to have somebody looking out for you throughout that process.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, you want to be finding that person that's going to be looking out for your best interest. And I think that's why it's so important that we, as buyers, decide to interview those agents and make sure that we find somebody who's going to be you're going to be able to trust, because it's going to be a lot of information that you're going to share with them. And honestly, it's going to be a long process. And I think that's something that we have to definitely get into. It's just how, how long it can take from the very beginning of you considering to purchase to actually being able to purchase and then getting the right home for you. It could be months. So, finding that person and an expert in your area is going to benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get further into that whole process down the road. Okay, so then the second point is making sure that you have somebody, or what a buyer's agent can offer for you is that they're advocating and negotiating for you. So when this is the person who's going to write you an offer. So I know that there's a lot of like video, HGTV and that kind of thing where it shows, oh, you're just kind of having whoever showed you the house call up and try to make a verbal offer. That's not how it works, at least not in Pennsylvania where we are. You have to actually sit down, go through a lot of paperwork. It's very official and it's very important. And that person is the person who can walk you through all of that. And they're going to be advocating for you. Like Ozzy said, they're going to know what the values are in the market. They're going to run what's called a CMA, or comparative market analysis, also referred to as comps, to make sure that they know what the value of the home is going to be, so that way you make sure that you're making it a good offer, something that makes sense for the value of the home, and also that the house is listed appropriately. And that person's going to then be able to negotiate for you, as if you're have counter offers, or even beyond the initial offer. Once you're under agreement, you have inspections, there's appraisal, there's a lot of renegotiating that can happen, and you want to have somebody who's in your corner. If you're just working with the seller's agent, keep in mind they're just representing the seller. So if something comes along, they're going to be looking for, out for the seller and for what's best for them. They're just trying to get it sold. Where a buyer's agent who's looking out for you isn't trying to sell you on a particular house. Their job is to make sure that you find the best home and the best value for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where you have somebody on your behalf, and it's something that you can trust that person next to you, and they're not representing anybody else other than you for this purchase. So it makes you feel much more comfortable with what's going on, and that's going to feel it's going to make you feel a lot more comfortable throughout the whole entire process. And like we said, Stephanie made a great point with HGTV and those television shows. They make it seem so simple and easy, and it seems like they can squeeze in 6 months worth of real estate in like 30 minutes. It really is a much longer process than it shows. So, it's definitely important to at least start those conversations with the buyer's agent, find out what they know, find out what they can do for you and what they're willing to do for you, and get the ball rolling.
Right, right. And that leads us to the third point, is that the buyer's agent can make sure that that you know everything that you need to know about the home, the location, the market possibilities for the particular property that you're interested in. So say you're going to see a house and they see some sort of hazards or things in the house that an inspector, just based on their experience, that they know that an inspector will most likely point out, they can at least tell you and make you aware of those things that they see that you might miss because you're thinking about, furniture placement and how cute the kitchen is and that kind of thing. And that's important to have. Where keep in mind, a seller's agent is trying to sell you that house. If you're at an open house or something, they might be the nicest person in the world, but keep in mind, careful what you share with them as well, because they're looking out for the seller, where a buyer's agent is going to be looking through, okay, could there be issues with drainage here, could there be maybe old wiring, that kind of thing. So you want to look out for that, have someone who's looking out for you with that as well.
I would also say, like, whenever you do find the buyer's agent, definitely be honest and upfront with them from the very beginning. And I would say, like, that's going to really go a long way, because as you are looking through the homes that you find interest in, I think if you're not particularly focusing on the mechanicals portion of a home, and you feel like that's something that you should, I think you should let them know right up front, like, hey, it's not something that I'm really particularly strong in, but I would love if you would be able to point out some of, like, the bigger issues that you see in a home. That way they can kind of help navigate you throughout the house and be able to show you those areas in which that you may not feel most comfortable in, but they may have the knowledge to understand what's actually a big deal and what may not be a big deal.
Definitely, yeah, and we can get into like inspections and that kind of thing as well, but that's always something that we would recommend having, because an inspector is going to really be able to go through and test everything out for you, where an agent's kind of going to just tell you what they see, from the surface. But if you have further questions on something, you can get a contractor or an inspector to take further look into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the bonus of having a buyer's agent beyond all of those things that we already talked about is, at least in Pennsylvania, as far as I'm not sure what the other areas are like, but normally having a buyer's agent is free. The seller is the one who pays the commission, so it really doesn't hurt at all. It can greatly benefit you to have a buyer's agent in your corner. So our next video, we're going to talk about what to look for in a buyer's agent and how to find one in your area. So if you have any questions, please comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of this type of video.